In this video, we will talk about what is a capability. You can view it as simply a building block of your organization, but in particular, it describes what it does. And so we have some examples of capabilities here. The examples here are customer service, human resource management, financial management, marketing management, and so on. In Jibility, it's important for you to understand that the main emphasis is for you to identify the building blocks in your organization that needs to change. And that change is in the context of what's required to meet your objectives in order to address the challenges. So as long as you're able to call out the things that needs to change, those building blocks that needs to change in order to meet your objectives or address your challenges, it doesn't really matter how accurate it is in terms of what is a capability and what is not a capability. In as far as Jibility is not prescriptive in terms of how you name those capabilities. For all intents and purposes, it doesn't really matter as long as you're able to identify what needs to change. So what is a building block and why are capabilities different? You would be already quite familiar with some of the examples of building blocks that I've got here on this page. No doubt you've seen in an organization a people construct, something like this that's shown, where you have a CEO and a CMO that reports to the CEO. This construct or these building blocks is describing the who in the organization as opposed to describing the what. And we mentioned earlier that capabilities is about a construct or a building block that describes the what. In the middle, we've got another set of building blocks that's describing the how in the organization. In the sense, it's describing the various functions, or you could even say the process areas within your organization. And then on the right-hand side, we have another building block structure that's describing the tangible components or assets within your organization. In this case, we're describing the office locations and some production plant components. And in the IT area, we've got the various systems and servers and so forth. So this is really describing the where and the which items, if you like, used within the organization. That's why capabilities are different. Capability is describing the what that brings all these components together into one construct that we call capability. You can see here in this example, we have a capability called human resource management. And human resource management is describing what it does in the sense that it is a capability that brings together these elements. The elements are the capability of human resource management is managed by the head of HR. It exists within the function of HR. It may even operate out of the head office, and they run the HR system or use the HR system within that capability. So all those elements combined, when brought together, is what this capability called human resource management is all about. When you describe a capability, we like to think in terms of what are all the elements that, when brought together, what does it do? Why do we need to think that way? Well, in the next step in Jibility, which is the course of action step, that's where this line of thinking becomes very, very useful. Because in the course of action step, you're then prompted to ask the question, for this capability called human resource management, well, what specifically in this capability needs to change in order to meet our objectives? So you might conclude as an example that this capability called human resource management, in order to meet our objectives, that the processes within the HR function needs to change, or that the HR system that we use needs to change. And by identifying specifically what elements of this capability needs to change, then we can specifically define what actions are required. And hence we need to understand for a capability, what are the elements of the capability in order to help frame or create the framework for us to identify what are the specific actions that we need to take for that capability. But I think it's important for these aspects of capabilities, or what we mean by capability, because it does help you later in the course of action step in terms of how you think of a capability to be able to define the actions required.